All right, welcome back. Let's continue now with our art conversations. This year's recipients of the Standard Bank Young Artist Awards. It marks a significant milestone as the awards celebrate 40 years of recognizing and championing emerging talent in South Africa's artistic landscape. So the winners were announced on Wednesday, and they represented bold new voices that are really reshaping the country's creative narrative on an international stage. And so this morning we're joined by Muneyi, winner for the music edition, Modise Sekgothe, recognized for poetry, and Siyasanga Charles, who will be joining us virtually, of course, one for jazz in the jazz appreciation category. So to all three of you, good morning and thank you. Thank you for being here.
Morning.
Congrats. A bunch of winners. I know that you guys are obviously flying the flag high for South Africa and you're really representing the country and the continent. So, Winnie, I want to start with you, your influences, Makulu as well.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about that and what it means to pay homage and now be rewarded for it.
I think first it's exciting, even though it's not the dream that she had for me. She thought I was going to end up in an office somewhere, typing away. But it's also just beautiful to also receive this award while she's still there.
Yes.
And she was actually there at the ceremony, which was lovely. But more than anything, it just feels like a great honor.
Because your music also takes us on an emotional journey. I mean, even if you don't understand the lyrics, what's evoked, it's a personal encounter with yourself. Tell us a little bit more about that sacred privilege and responsibility that you undergo and allow people to undergo.
I think because I'm an emotional person myself, it's sort of easy to be vulnerable and to share, but also to understand that, you know, it's not just sharing, it's also creating a space for other people to feel safe enough to share where they're at, what they feel. And I guess the greatest pleasure comes from people actually, you know, receiving that and feeling like it resonates with them and where they are in life, and it's really beautiful.
Yes,
you know?
That connection.
Yes,
that's sometimes scarce in our society.
Absolutely.
Modise, you also obviously are a recipient this year, and you dabble in poetry, and so that's what you were awarded for.
Yeah.
How do you draw boundaries between poetry and performing arts in your offering? What goes into that process for you?
I think I do the opposite. I think I'm interested in kind of, in merging. For me, it's always been about sort of moving poetry from the page and sort of, you know, essentially embodying it, bringing it to life in as many ways as I possibly can, through the use of music as well, through collaboration with many different kinds of artists.
Yeah.
I've always, you know, sometimes in the theater context, I've always been interested in kind of seeing, you know, like what spaces can we sort of explore poetry in that aren't usually explored.
And so what would have been some of those influences then that would have impacted you profoundly?
I think for me, at the beginning of my journey, it was rap music, actually.
Okay.
Rap music was quite seminal along my journey. Underground rap music, particularly, which you know is a movement that I think was very significant to getting the sort of commercial rap music industry where it is now. I think a lot of people that were on the ground in the early 90s, and so those are the people that I think I was inspired by a lot. And then of course other great sort of poets that have come before me, like recipients, you know, the likes of Charles Bukowski, and then in the rap space, people like the Emphatic Tabs and Robert the Technician. And so for me, because I guess also music is such a significant aspect of the influence, musicality is a significant sort of aspect of my work in itself, even though it's you know, on the word level, it's the musicality that I'm interested in, you know, that is found in language.
The storytellers of our generation, the cultural custodians. And so, Sia, I want to then also bring you into the conversation. Congratulations. Talk to us about the formation of Sia Charles Sextet and really what this award also means for you. It's Jazz Appreciation Month as well, April. So we're looking at the significant role that jazz has played in our country, in our liberation as well. And your offering.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. It's such an honor to be awarded the Standard Bank Young Artist Award for Jazz. A lot of my peers, my colleagues that I hold in very high regard have won this award. The previous winner actually for the Jazz Award is Darren English, a very good friend of mine. And I'm so excited, still a bit gobsmacked because I'm really used to being on the background and a very, faithful and reliable sideman. So the formation of the Sia Charles Sextet came in the height of the pandemic. And I realized that I couldn't rely on being that sideman. I was touring Asia with Matilda the musical, and they had to shut down the production because of COVID. So I said, okay, let me just go back into my bag of compositions and see if I can put some stuff out, record some songs. And I collaborated with the Standard Bank Jazz Festival in 2021. And I played with some of my friends who I've known for many, many years, some of Cape Town and South Africa's finest musicians. So that was a lot of fun. And it just happened to resonate with a lot of people. And I ended up performing again at the Jazz Festival last year.
Yeah.
And not thinking that I was, be awarded this.
Sia, you casually decided to give the people what they want. Thank you for that. You infuse traditional elements as well. It's been well received, obviously, in your jazz composition. So tell us a little bit more about that journey you embark in and what you're trying to portray through that as well.
Well, as a kid, we would do road trips around the Eastern Cape with my parents, and they always had the Soul Brothers on, the African jazz pioneers, and we were always listening to Umbatanga and Marabi, and it was music that really just touched my heart, and it brings fond core memories of my childhood. And then I started checking out some really hit jazz musicians like the late great Big Selegu, who truly was the pioneer of marrying traditional African rhythms with the jazz harmony, the jazz language. He was able to marry those two influences so well, and I checked him out throughout my childhood. He really is one of my musical icons and heroes, and that is what inspired the sound of the Sia Charles Sextet.
Sia, you, hailing from the Eastern Cape, would have been familiar with Makhanda, and so you would have performed at the National Arts Festival. And all of you, this is a big feat that you're going to be undergoing this year.
Yes.
Sia, let me start with you, then I'll bring the rest of you into the conversation, because now you're returning, but you're one of the main acts. What does that recognition mean, and really what goes into your thought process about what people can expect from that performance? No pressure.
Lots of pressure, actually, because I remember being a geeky tomboy who loved jazz, attending the National Youth Jazz Festival as a kid. I was able to play in the Standard Bank National Schools Big Band, Standard Bank National Youth Jazz Band, which toured Sweden in 2012. And that was so amazing. But I always held my peers and colleagues who had performed in such high regard, performing as themselves, as artists. So I have this opportunity now to showcase work. I'll be premiering some new works that I've been able to write while I've been living in New York City. So I do have that New York jazz influence now in my music, which is really exciting. And I'm looking forward to putting some things together. I'm looking forward to going back in the shed and really honing my craft, and I'm rearranging some music that I've written, because apart from performing, I'm also an avid composer and arranger, so I'm looking so forward to showcasing that.
Sia, we are certainly counting down the clock, obviously, as we edge closer to that arts festival is happening a little later on in the year. But congrats on your award as well. Muneyi, I want to bring you into that, because now with this performance, it's really a big feat that you get to represent yourself, your community, your family, and of course South Africa at large.
Yes.
What's going into that?
A lot of preparation.
Sure.
And a lot of anxiety. I think really wanting it to be special and to be meaningful. And not that other performances aren't meaningful, but I think for most artists who live in this country, the National Arts Festival is like, it's like that place where you really want to play. And to be afforded a chance to do that, to put up your own production, it's quite a lot of pressure, like Sia said. But I'm really excited to introduce myself maybe to the country and to people who maybe don't know who I am fully. I think for me, it's more of an introduction to the world, to say, hi, this is who I am and this is what I do. And luckily, you know, no one's going to tell me to get off stage because it's going to be my own show. So that's really, really
It's going
exciting.
to be your own show.
Yes.
But I mean, let's reframe that. How about the rest of us, or the world, gets to be introduced to your greatness and
Fair.
catching up to your greatness?
Yes, definitely.
Yes, the work has been a lifetime in the process.
It's all my existence until now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for you, Modise?
So the first time I actually was at NAF may have been 2012.
Okay.
I was part of a student production. I was part of the UJ drama company at the time, and then I was in the Fringe at some other point. And so it's quite a journey to be in this moment and to kind of be putting something together at this scale, which is definitely quite the journey. And what's interesting, of course, with poetry is that you do a lot of your writing in a sort of isolated environment, but then because of the scale of the production, I kind of have to basically, take it to the floor and kind of work with other people in terms of music and theater and just all the things I want to explore and put together in the performance.
Collaboration is important, and mentorship as well. What would that have played in your journey as well? Collaborations with the likes of Rayuma Sikela, I mean, that's huge, but talk to us a little bit more about that.
I think a massive role, and with poetry and with written forms, even in this process, as I'm writing the work that I'm writing, I'm kind of sort of getting sort of editorial assistance from some of the people that actually have received this award. A certain Monageng Vice Mutabi who got it for theater, quite some years ago, who's kind of helping me along the process of sort of crafting this work and just making sure that it kind of brings through everything that I want to bring
and those
across.
Conversations are important now, given where the world is and the role that art is also going to be playing at large to help us heal. Sia, you collaborated with Rayuma Sikela. Collaborations and mentorship is very important as well. So tell us a little bit more about that on your journey.
I actually had the honor of playing with the great Rayuma Sikela in Mozambique. There was a performance that Jimmy Lulu was doing at the time, and I had done my apprenticeship with him for a couple of years, and so Jimmy Lulu loves to collaborate with various South African as well as African artists, because he was very passionate about Africa and the diaspora. So we were able to perform with Rahu, and he had the warmest soul. Such a kind person. You could tell he was a jazz nerd. He really was into jazz. It was such an honor to meet him. He just had the warmest presence, and it's a performance that I do treasure till this day.
Muneyi, speaking about performances and perhaps even themes that come to the fore, loss and love is obviously something that's been pivotal in your journey.
Yes.
What does that then look like for future projects? How do you begin to reinterpret it as you evolve as a human as well?
I think now that I've had sort of a timeline now, I wanted to start by honoring the people I feel raised me, the people who were pivotal in my upbringing. She was my grandmother mostly. And then my second project was mostly just saying, hi, this is what my personal life might look like. And my recent project that I just put out is more about self-forgiveness and just leaning in more internally. And I think now, expanding on that theme, I think I want to look at it on a bigger platform, like looking at myself as a Movenda and what the collective loss looks like, and especially because there's not so much representation. So now I'm looking at just representing myself and the people that, my people, and also saying we're essentially the same people, and these are the things that make us the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Last great space for more. And so, Modise, I want to end off with you just very quickly. What else can we expect from you? Because we're looking at the role of poetry and storytelling as well. Perhaps where you envision it, and really what are some of those future projects we can also look forward to from you on your front?
For also just to talk about sort of the main sort of subject I'm tackling, I think there's a lot of questions for me currently about masculinity. I think about just making sense of what it is and what sort of the new kind of, I guess, reimagined positive sort of aspects of masculinity there can be, particularly in the South African context. And so, you know, I'm asking a lot of questions in that direction with this work at NAF, but also with, you know, some of the audio projects I'm working on, as well as a book that I'd be releasing quite soon. And so those are sort of the areas I'm working towards, and the particular subject I'm tackling currently.
Because representation and inclusivity is also important. So even with those topics, sometimes it's Eurocentric. We need everyone represented as well. So thank you for adding to our agency.
Thank
and
you.
wishing all of you the best of luck. And thank you for joining us so bright and early. See you at the Arts Festival.
Yeah, thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Those are the
having us.
2025 recipients of the Standard Bank Young Artists Awards. This morning chatting about the award, what it really means for them, and of course what we can expect from their future projects and performances.